I know. Everybody wants to panic. I do too, but we have to remember one thing. Rich Rod's been here before.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby, where we're talking about the Mountaineers on the football side of things today. Junior. And look, guys, thank you guys so much for joining in as we do another episode here. Grateful to be here. And got to remind you, this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Monarch Money. Right now, take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code Locked On College at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year. I'm not doing it alone, though, obviously, guys. And somebody that I had on last week that had a great reception, somebody that a lot of you guys liked a lot, and I like a lot, Jackson Johnson. What's up, my dude? Jacksonian, voice of college football, Alabama. You got a lot going on over there.
Oh, I'm always staying busy, and wait until you're seeing what I'm doing behind the scenes. I tell you what. How you doing today, good buddy?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you for going on right here.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said it in the chat. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Obviously, on this one, we're talking about Rich Rod. And what he did last year, Jack State. Got a bunch of numbers. We're going to look through that and kind of talk through, is this a different situation, or are there any comparable things to what happened last year at Jack State that could happen this year at West Virginia? Obviously, we're going to talk quarterbacks. We'll talk final thoughts, different things like that. Obviously, I know about the Charlie Kirk situation. It's brutal. It's horrible. It took me a minute to get my bearings after that. So,
he's in our prayers.
I wish I would have never saw the video. If you're listening to this, I strongly encourage you not to watch it. It is very graphic video and really hard to watch. So, just definitely keep that man in your prayers. As we're living in a world that's really rough right now. So, football is a getaway from that kind of stuff. And that's what we're doing here on this episode. We're going to try to get away from that for a minute, even though, if I had any other kind of platform, maybe we would talk about it. But this isn't the platform for that. So I understand why people want to talk about it in the chat. I understand. Trust me, it's rough. But we just have to kind of move on and let's just move on. I don't want to go any deeper than that. I have opinions, obviously, but it's not for here. So I think for me on this, with Rich Rod and company, they've come off a little bit of a slow start here. 1-1 start for West Virginia. Jackson, we're 1-1 after 2 games. Obviously, we kicked it off with a 45-3 win over FCS Robert Morris. 5 fumbles in that game, but we saw flashes of Rich Rod's high-octane spread option attack. But then you go on the road to lose to a MAC opponent in Ohio, 17-10. I think some early issues have been exposed. You get 3 interceptions and 9 yards off of that. That's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely not good. I mean, because it was like I said on last Friday. Ohio felt like the perfect trap game for the West Virginia Mountaineers. And they got them right where they wanted them. But, West Virginia is now thinking about Pitt as well as they should. And it was just like, good grief. Like, it was just a huge loss, but we've seen Rich Rod bounce back from losses like this before. We've seen him bounce back for bad starts. I mean, you look at 0-3. Horrible start, 1-4. Then they end the regular season with a winning streak.
Yeah.
And, you mentioned like Jacksonville State last season, 0-3, ended the stretch with an 8-1 finish. I mean, That's humongous right there. So Rich Rod's going to get his boys in Morgantown bouncing back. That I can personally guarantee.
It seems like it's possible, right? If you want to look at the blueprint for the turnaround, obviously the Gamecocks started at 0-3, and there's a similar adjustment period probably needed for this West Virginia team 3-4 games. They were blown out by Coastal Carolina 55-27 to start the season. They got smacked by Louisville 49-14. Then they lost to Eastern Michigan in double overtime in 37-34. They averaged just 25 points a game during that stretch, 121.7 rushing yards a game during that stretch, and the defense was giving up 47 points a game and 563 total yards per game during that time. Over the next 9 regular season games, they went 8-1. They clinched the Conference USA title after a 52-12 rout over Western Kentucky in the championship game. The offense exploded to 38.9 points per game, 302 yards. The defense tightened that thing up to 20 points per game and only allowed 350 yards per game. I think if you look at key reasons for the flip, well, Rich Rod's belief in his own system, right? He's got these slogans: believe it, do it, hold the rope, spot the ball. I think he's able to keep the teams focused no matter what early on beliefs they may have. And it's all about just figuring out the right mix of guys. If you look at, like, they were able to go back and play a Coastal team. I think it was Coastal again, or they played another team again. I don't have their schedule pulled up, but I think they even got a get-back game on one of those early losses. They beat Liberty, who was a really good team, down the stretch. They beat Louisiana Tech down the stretch that was really good by 20 points. It was just a whole different team, and then they really hung in there and with Ohio at the end, played better against them than we did. At Jackson.
And they beat Western Kentucky in the rematch of the Conference USA title game.
That's the one, the Conference USA rematch. Obviously, so are these the same quality opponents that we're going to be playing in the Big 12 or Pitt? No, they're not. But were they similar in talent to Jacksonville State? Yes. Was it a similar challenge at Jacksonville State in the MAC? I think yes, because of the type of players, right? So I don't see why there isn't hope here. I think you can have some hope that, Rich Rod has a culture and a system that just takes a little bit of time to get ingratiated within. Now, here's the one thing somebody else pointed out. There is a difference between 55 and 81 players. Even though Jack State had 55 players last year, which is a whole lot, West Virginia has 81. And if you look at some of the important things that Jack State had last year, Jackson established quarterback in Tyler Huff. They figured that thing out relatively early to allow them to have success.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it because, like, Jacksonville State had their quarterback situation all figured out, like, before 2024 started. But, as we'll definitely get into later in the show, we'll be talking a little bit about how's the quarterback situation in Morgantown. Do we stick to what we have with Nico? Do we go to Scotty Fox? Like, what's the plan here, Scoob?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And Rich Rod knows best. He's there at practice every day. I think a lot of the fan base wasn't happy with how the offense performed against Ohio on Saturday, and rightfully so. And also at times against Robert Morris, but that wasn't Nico's fault. I think if you're a coach, one bad game is not good enough reason to pull any quarterback, really. If you really want to break it down and just be level-headed about it, how many quarterbacks would be benched if they had one bad game? Patrick Mahomes would be benched, right? So it's like, you got to let him get a chance to get better at some point. And I get that the offensive line has issues. I understand that. But if you look at that Jacksonville State team, they were rushing for 120 yards a game and then flipped that thing into 350. So if you let Rich Rodriguez just get in the lab and find something that works, anything, if he can just find anything, a design set of plays that works, a type of play style that works, whether that's perimeter-oriented runs, inside, he's just got to figure that out, and then he can just base his offense around that and dress it up however to get – because he's such a smart offensive guy, he'll figure it out. I just think unless we're totally inept on offensive line, which is possible, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think we're probably below average in like 2 spots, and we're average at a couple spots. And I do think that Nick Cray might actually be potentially good at some point. What say you about all that?
I would stick with Nico for now, like for right now, until otherwise. If he's having like 3 interceptions in the first half against Pittsburgh, then you take him out. But I don't think we've seen anything like that thus far from Nico. Now, I get, like Ohio was a bad showing, but it's like you stated, Paul. Every quarterback had a bad showing for one game. How many quarterbacks would be benched if they had a bad showing? Millions of them, like Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. Just
Right.
millions and millions of them. Or Johnny Unitas. Like if he had a bad game, he'd be pulled
Unitas.
out.
When he went back in the old school there, Alabama quarterback Johnny Unitas. Is that why you said that?
Nah, Louisville.
Did he go to Louisville?
He went to Louisville.
Yeah, that's right.
In the days of I Love Lucy on television.
Love that show. That seems like a pretty good segue for a break, Jackson. We'll talk more about the quarterbacks next. Since you said keep Nico, I'll make a case to play somebody else next on Locked On West Virginia with Jackson Johnson. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Mazda, guys. And we're talking about Mazda on this one for multiple reasons, but none more than we love talking about Mazda, of course. Right now, guys, Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. And if you want to move and craft cars for those who simply do more than simply move, Mazda is where you want to go because they've got more, and they got the most IHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anybody else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat on all the fine details, right? Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. Like our players, we sweat every detail. Because you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant with Mazda. So you can move and be moved. And, of course, our friends over at DoorDash are hanging out with us today as we talk about them, guys. It's almost a weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered? Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving money every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most, so let's break it down. For West Virginia, there wasn't a ton of options to go with, right? And there was a few people you could look at and say, okay, they had a good game. Obviously, Fred Perry delivered in a big way in the game against Ohio. He had several big-time stops. Was all over the field. Really proud of him and how he's performed so far this year. He has been as advertised, and when the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation and no delay. If you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke with Fred Perry, and he is on a streak. And so, just like that, Fred Perry delivered for West Virginia. DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. For every order you make on Saturday, you can stack them up all season, and you can save up to $250 and including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, and fuel your game day only with DoorDash, where the terms apply. Promo code through 11 and 18. It's segment 2. I'm going to crack open a do, Jackson.
Oh, man. That DoorDash thing makes me kind of hungry for after the show.
Well, if you could order DoorDash right now, what would you get?
I don't know. Probably some from Five Guys at the moment.
Five Guys, burgers and fries. Not bad. Not bad. I like it and I'll allow it. Okay, so obviously we're talking West Virginia football here with Jackson Johnson. Before we move any further, though, tell some people what you got going on right now with Jacksonian and College of Alabama.
Well, I've got a certain West Virginia man with a certain snapback hat, which is pretty cool, by the way. And he'll be on with me, and we'll be discussing a lot about the West Virginia Mountaineers, his take, much more. And there'll be another episode that I'll be releasing with Sonny Verma from Locked On Illini, where we'll be discussing our take on the Illinois Fighting Illini, but that will be in a few weeks because it will be after Illinois, Indiana. And, of course, I've got Alabama with the Voice of College Football, where Coach Smook, Jeffrey at Only Talk Sports, myself, are joined by Ryan Herrings at Locked On Badgers discussing the preview of Alabama, Wisconsin. And to give the final take on Alabama, Wisconsin, we have Rajiv from the Bucky Report and contributor to Locked On Badgers join us for some Alabama, Wisconsin. And let me tell you something, we go on a deep dive on Alabama, Wisconsin, all right there on Alabama at the Voice of College Football. Tune in, you won't want to miss it.
All right, that was a promo right there, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Okay, so I think I've made this case already, but I'm going to do it again.
Okay.
And I'm just going to paint a little bit different a picture for you. Okay. Let's say, for argument's sake, that West Virginia does have an issue on the offensive line that isn't fixable in the run game. Maybe this is the kind of team that can't run. There are two types of teams. There are teams that can run with players in the box, and there are teams that can't, in my opinion, right? Some teams have to have the box alleviated to be able to run the ball, because and then, a lot of times you can use double teams to win battles and open holes or whatever. But if it's everybody one-on-one, you might struggle, right? So it's either a continuity issue with the offensive line for now that's going to be an issue, or they can fix it and we're going to be all right. We'll be able to run the ball, and then any quarterback we have, I think, is good enough to throw it around. But if not, you have to consider who the best passer on this team is overall, right? And I think there is one guy that sticks out for me on tape. Now, I'm not there in practice every day, and maybe this isn't the case anymore, but I'm going to say Max Brown for now is a guy that you consider because of the arm talent. I've shown it on here before. I don't have a problem showing it again. He's a guy that's got very close to elite arm talent when you talk about just straight up arm talent. Like, basically, what's the release look like? What's the ball flight look like? Does it carry? All that kind of stuff. And he's got it. And he's got it in spades, really. I mean, there's a reason he was chosen to be the starting quarterback at Florida a few years ago. You don't get those jobs unless you're pretty dang good. So I like to show a couple things from him on here every time I make this point, because I think without the tape, you don't really know. So I'll just show a couple throws of his that I think are just so good. So starting here, this is probably the first one I like to show. And for those of you listening on podcasts, this is Max Brown at Florida. You can find this over on his X page. But this is him dropping back to pass in practice against Florida. And I want you to look at the slot receiver here who's going to run an inside post towards the pylon. And I want you to see where he puts this ball at right here in just an incredible spot with a defender that's really all over him. And if you watch his arm release on this, watch how he just flicks it. It's a bunch of layering going on here, Jackson, where, some quarterbacks they've got two balls. They can throw it really hard or they throw it way too soft, right? Well, this is the kind of guy that can layer balls in different places at all levels of the field. That's an excellent throw.
Oh, man.
Excellent throw, right? You look at the ball placement on this one. This guy's defended, so he put it only where his guy can get it in the back of the end zone. That's an elite throw that not a lot of guys can make. We don't have a guy on the roster that can do that right now. And then here, if you get in trouble, your offensive line can't protect you. How about you can juke somebody out of their shoes? Whoop, right?
Whoop, there it is.
And then look at the zing he puts on this throw here to the middle of the field. Zing. Beautiful throw. But I think if I'm going to make the case for him on any throw, it's going to be this next throw. It is, you want to talk about elite arm strength in an NFL throw, this is it 9 times out of 9. This is a great throw. Moving backwards and stepping into this thing, this is probably 80 to 90% of his arm strength, and it looks every bit of it, Jackson. Watch this one.
Oh, here we go.
That is a zinger.
And he had both feet in bounds. That was
yeah,
impressive.
he did. But, I mean, if you look at the mechanics of the way Max Brown throws the ball, very good. And he was a young player here. This is in 2023, so this is 2 years ago against that really good Florida State team that should have went to the playoff, right? So because only their quarterback got hurt, so they didn't go. But so this is against that team, and he makes this throw. He's shaded towards the right hash mark, and this is probably a 50-yard throw. Maybe 40. But, I mean, there's a lot of velocity on that ball, and if you want to know if he can chuck it deep, he can, and he can do it with great accuracy at that. As you can see, well, that's a quarterback sneak. Let's see. There's another quarterback, well, not quarterback sneak, but a designed QB run. Oh, yeah, watch this one. Moving to his left, off platform, guy wrapped around his leg, and watch this throw. Pretty nice. Man,
can I see that again?
Yeah. Watch the arm angle. It's kind of Mahomes-ish because the arm angle drops way down, almost like a baseball-looking type throw, but it's such a beautiful-looking throw.
Oh, man, defensive line, he's just crawling like he's a puppy dog.
Yeah, I know.
That's the funny one right there.
And then the last one we'll show is one of these deep shots they take because you want to see the arm talent, the arm.
Oh, he juked them.
Overall arm strength. Yeah, he can juke. Here you go, about 60 yards down the field on a dime, boom, right? And we've got Cam Vaughn who can do just that. So I think, I make this case a couple times, and then you look, he can run the offense. Like I said, this is against Missouri. If the defensive end stays, like right here, he's the kind of guy that can right here. He's the kind of guy that can still get around that defensive end. What does that do? Well, it prevents the defensive end from crashing down on your running back every single time, because with Nico right now, we don't have this. The defensive end crashes down every time because there's no threat to pull it. We don't have any threat to pull the ball, and I think that's why they're able to load up the box and stop our run game. So we need a guy that can get outside the defensive end whenever this happens, just like that. And that's really all you need to run Rich Rod's offense at a high level. He can throw it too, though. But my point is, Jackson, is if your offensive line can't open up the run game for you, we've shown already we can pass pro. Like we gave them enough time last week and in the first game to make a ton of different throws, but they just were inaccurate and off schedule for whatever reason. So I think Max Brown is an intriguing option in the pass game. He can run too, but if you're talking about a runner, I would probably go Jalen Henderson overall, with a high thought to Scotty Fox as well. But it's a lot of quarterbacks to try to sift through.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm curious what you think about Max Brown.
You got me sold. I'm already thinking about Brown as starting QB for West Virginia. If things go bad with Nico, put in Max Brown.
I think he deserves a shot. Now, I'm not there in practice every day. Obviously, I don't know how he's picking up this offense. I have no clue, right? And that's all fair. But I think if you look at him as a passer, he got it, man. He can throw it around, and he's done it in games versus the SEC. I don't know. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to it, and we're not, like I said, we're not there in practice every day. But I submit Max Brown is a definite possibility. Now, if you want a guy that can run, I would say Jalen is a guy that you highly consider. The thing that puts people off from Max Brown is he had 93 pass attempts last year at Charlotte and 6 interceptions. But, I went and looked at the team they had last year. They didn't have a lot around him, and he was trying to make a bunch of superhero-type moves. I think that's what happened. He just he was trying to do too much, forcing balls in. He's got a really great arm. I would say close to an elite arm. Like he's got, when he's really on, he makes elite throws. But obviously, who knows if he's throwing picks in practice or what every day. So, the questions I don't have the answer to are, how's he performing in practice? So, I guess we'll go to break again. We'll come back, give our final thoughts. We'll talk a little bit about the backyard brawl. I haven't even asked Jackson Johnson what he thinks about this game yet.
I'm going to sob like a baby when that game goes after this year.
Oh, man. That's awesome. All right, guys. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. And right now with FanDuel, it's the time to jump in if you didn't know, because the NFL season is here as well as college, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and make you holler. And if your bet wins, you'll win $300 in bonus bets to use the Cross the app. That was my Macho Man impression. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in on the live action as it unfolds. It makes the game more exciting, right? So whether you're watching with your team or keep an eye on your fantasy lineup, you can do that. Are you ready to play? Download the Get FanDuel app, create an account, and then check it out. You just go to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And last but not least, guys, we are back here with Jackson Johnson. One more read to do. Sorry, I had it misplaced here. My apologies. Monarch Money. And listen, we're talking about Monarch Money on this one for multiple reasons, but we can't forget that most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, much less a 401k, properties, or investments. And look, whether you don't have the full picture or not, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's just a fact, Jack. So why is there Monarch Money for you? Well, it's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch Money is built for people with busy lives, and if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch Money is for you, and it does the heavy lifting for you as well. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally, feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So, look, you can identify whatever you want about Monarch Money, but I'm telling you right now, guys, if you want to maximize investments, increase your spending rate, your savings rate, it's not your spending, but your savings rate, you can easily review finances with your partner and financial advisor, keeping a clear view of your financial health with Monarch Money. Do it now. Do it today. Use Locked On College at monarchmoney.com for your browser for half off your first year. It's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code Locked On College. And we are back here, Locked On West Virginia, in segment 3 with the great Jackson Johnson, host of Locked On College Football, voice of college football, Alabama, and the Jacksonian.
It's me again.
All right, guys. Somebody said my mic was off. Did my mic go off?
I went for a bit, but I hear you loud and clear.
Oh.
Chat can't hear them.
I don't think it was just somebody said.
Wow, that was my mic. Oh, well. But
my mic went off for a minute? Oh,
no,
so
his mic's fine now.
Okay.
So
somebody just messing with me. Okay. All right. Okay, we're back here with Jackson Johnson for sure. I'll tell you what, man. When it comes to the backyard brawl, it's a rivalry that college football used to be predicated on, and it seems like we're moving away from it. Doesn't seem like we're going to renew it. What say you to the recent comments about, Pitt and West Virginia, the back and forth on this? Like, sounds like it's going to be a couple years before we play this thing again.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be waiting it out until 2029, of course. Like, this was scheduled in years in advance. But, I mean, it makes me excited that we're going to be seeing it throughout 2029 through 2032. But, like the moment that Alabama canceled the home and home with West Virginia for 2026 and 2027 because of the 9-game SEC schedule rule from Greg Sankey weeks ago, it made me think, okay, maybe there's a chance we see Pitt, West Virginia for 2026, 2027. Because, I mean, there's talks about canceling the home and home between Alabama and West Virginia this time last year. Why?
Right.
Because West Virginia, Pitt want to play each other. But the fact is, next year, Pitt's going to be having Central Florida. They're going to have Wisconsin. And I think they're going to be having, and they just said they were going to be playing Ole Miss for 2026, 2030. So one of those games is gone. I don't think Wisconsin's gone because that's a neutral site game in Europe. Well, I think that's one of the Ireland games. I'm not sure. But Central Florida, I think, is the odd man out. And on top of that, you're likely going to see an announcement from the ACC where they're going to go to 9-game conference schedules. They're going to do whatever the SECs do. It's like Charlie Barker from All Dogs Go to Heaven. Whatever Charlie does, Itchy does. And the ACC is going to do whatever the SECs do. SECs go to 8 conference games, so is the ACC. SEC does 9-game conference games. ACC does 9-game conference games. It's like Regina George, and Gretchen. Gretchen's got to do whatever Regina George is doing. And my friends, ACC is the Gretchen Wieners of college football.
Oh my gosh. So I appreciate you, John. Apparently there was a loose cord on there, so I didn't realize that. I appreciate it. I can't tell any different in my ears for whatever reason. And I went and looked in the settings while he was talking, and you were right. So I apologize, guys. I guess I was on room sound. I didn't know what room sound was until I thought about it for a second. So that's unfortunate because this is a really great microphone and it catches great sound. You guys paid for it in the chat, $500 or whatever we paid for it. So it's definitely a good mic. Thank you, John. I didn't mean to call you. I wasn't trying to call you a liar. People were saying they could hear me. All right. So what are your thoughts on this game as far as Saturday? You've got West Virginia missed out on game day by the losing to Ohio on Saturday. That's been publicly said by not only McAfee, but, Kirk Herbstreit said it during the Michigan-Oklahoma game. You can't replace all that exposure. It's just not possible, right? All the way down to it was going to be McAfee Friday, game day on Saturday. Do you think this helps West Virginia possibly? That now that they can just fly under the radar, be the home underdogs, and play the football game?
Oh, yeah. This totally helps West Virginia because it's like nobody's talking about West Virginia compared to like Georgia, Tennessee, or even like Miami, South Florida on the CW. And, if I'm West Virginia, I'm using that as motivation. It's like nobody's talking about us. No problem. We'll make the nation talk about us.
Well, the West Virginia Mountaineers could absolutely do that with a win this Saturday. Yes. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it can happen, especially when it's at home in Morgantown.
Well, make a pick.
Gonna be a tight one. Ladies and gentlemen.
You want to make a pick, or are you waiting to do that?
Oh, I think I'll go ahead and say West Virginia 24-21. Now, if it was at Pitt, I would Pitt because like dreams go to die at Pitt. But because it's at home in Morgantown, West Virginia, I'm going with the Mountaineers on this one. And this is going to be a tight one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to make a pick yet. I have obviously a guest coming on for a full deep dive here tomorrow, I think, or the next day. It's either tomorrow or Friday. Still trying to figure out which one it's going to be. It was supposed to be Gary Patterson. Not exactly sure if that's going to happen now. We'll just have to see. A lot of people, because he's with Locked On now, there's a lot of people reaching out to him. So I think, he's probably a very busy guy, and I don't want to be that person that's like over and over again. So, it's going to be interesting. But either way, I'll have somebody cool on here. We've got a couple former players from Pitt that I'm thinking about bringing on, just somebody that's like the opposite. So we'll figure it out. But I appreciate you guys for joining in. Make sure you check out Jackson Johnson on the Voice of College Football Alabama channel, then the Jacksonian. That's JACKSONIAN, correct?
Mm-hmm. JACKSON.
So he does a great job over there, guys. And as you all well know, he is a walking football almanac when it comes to just almost any game that's ever been played. So he's got a little touch of the tism, as I like to call it. No, just kidding.
Sorry, man.
I appreciate you for joining in, man. And guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and all the whole nine. And I appreciate you for being here. Let's see. What else did we have here for you before we go? That's right. Before we get out of here, let's talk about another big moment for Locked On, as well as college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV are going to present to you College Football's Kickoff, which is your ultimate college football weekly preview with Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12, leading the conversation along two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and also Locked On's local experts, a college football preview show only Locked On can do. Listen, catch the college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season. You can do that only on Fire TV. And let's do it, baby. Until then, guys, for Jackson, for myself, we're out of here.